Tell us about the book and why you wanted to write it.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do with this book is explain in layman's terms what Republicans are doing to the law.
Let's see. Black dude, on The View. First thing he does is bitch about Republicans. In less than 10 seconds, we can probably infer about 99% of this one's political positions, let's be honest.
Because I honestly believe that if everybody understood it, they'd be as outraged as I am about it, and they'd be willing to do something about it. Look, folks, the law is complicated. I'm not going to lie about that. But it's not beyond the reach of most literate people, all right? It's not sending a rocket to Mars and making it land just so it doesn't right? You can read, you can understand the laws that govern this country, and you can understand how Republicans are obviously trying to manipulate those laws to take away the rights of minorities, women, the LGBTQ community. You can see it all.
What I tell you.
And I try to explain it all in ways that people can understand so that we can fight them.
I have to tell you, I loved this book so very much. The first chapter, canceling trash people is not a constitutional crisis.
Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen.
Chapter 9, the taking of black land, was another favorite of mine, and reverse racism is not a thing. I just think it's fantastic.
So I live in Florida, so I'm like on ground zero of where all of this is happening. I'm out of my mind about the bills banning conversations about race and ethnicity and LGBTQ, just even mentioning gender identity in primary schools. But
funny, a few seconds ago it was canceling trash people is not a constitutional crisis. But if a bunch of parents take issue with the state indoctrinating their prepubescent children with some over-the-top BS about gender ideology, oh, now it's suddenly a threat to free speech. Call me a cynic, people, but I get the impression whoever holds the power to define trash people is gonna hold all the cards here. Next up.
Because she's biased and corrupt. Like, I don't know what to tell everybody anymore. Like, I've been saying this since he took office. When you allow Republicans to control the courts, you get nothing. Trump judges do not believe in the rule of law. They do not believe in precedent, do not believe in facts. They do not believe in logic. They just believe in whatever is going to help Donald Trump. And they've proven it again and again and again. So when I say that you cannot trust Trump judges, I don't know what more evidence you need for that fact, right?
Because resorting to tautology does not make one's point, you fat sack of crap.
Like, look, the argument that he has executive privilege is so what the scientists would call stupid.
This is supposedly a legal expert.
That it's difficult to explain it, right? Like the idea that, first of all, privilege goes to the current president. We only have one president at a time. So it's not Trump's privilege to have. But even if it was, as you pointed out, with Bill Barr, who believes that the executive of the United States is something closer to a king than a president, even Bill Barr says that if he had a privilege, that privilege still goes with the government, not with Trump. And so these documents belong in the archives.
Wrong. In a 2012 court case, a one-judge Jackson ruled in favor of former President Clinton keeping possessions of some items and that the National Archives and Records Administration had no legal authority to seize control of them due to Mr. Clinton using previous executive powers to declare them declassified and hence private property. But anyway, my apologies for exposing you all to the ramblings of a demented fucking lunatic, but had to be done. By the way, that guy's name is Elie Mystal, or Mistal, which sounds like a glitter-covered stripper either way. And by the way, to any sane, rational human being, this one would be considered mentally deranged and the kind of grifter would try to squeeze a stone for drips of racism, but remember, this man is supposed to be some kind of intellectual on the left. I know, right? I'm not even going to say anything. You can tell from the whole presentation he's trying to be a sort of modern-day Frederick Douglass, and that's not going to work. Now, the reason I brought this up is not just to bash him for being an idiot, although frankly, if you watch him or look at his Twitter, he does a pretty decent job of that himself, but because I got into a Twitter spat with this dude, and he said this: if you believe that Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell did not talk about the national abortion ban 2 steps before they launched it, I own a bridge in Brooklyn that I'm interested in selling. And I don't think Lindsey takes a piss without first consulting Trump and then telling McConnell where he's allowed to whiz. Now, I replied with this. You could have stopped at, I don't think, Q-tip, which is A, funny, and B, implies I read his tweet and told him to stop at the first 3 words. Clearly he can't think because the rest is total bullshit. It's just a snarky way of saying he's an idiot. You would think it doesn't take a genius to grasp that, but apparently it does because this discount chimney sweep replied with, "I'm sorry, I use so many words you don't know how to read." Now, how on earth that makes any sense, who the hell knows? How did I read the first 3 words you wrote? What, is my literacy capacity limited by character cap, is it? This is how you know the left can't meme or write or do comebacks. And speaking of that, if you type in his name on YouTube and scroll down, I swear to God this is true, there's actually a video of him called Avoiding Twitter Fights with White People. And by the way, so people know I'm not misrepresenting him, watch the first 2 or so minutes of it. It's essentially leftoid speak for, I have a platform and so I have a social responsibility with the power of immunity from any criticism to openly be a racist asshole. You can't make this shit up. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this is I said in a previous video that social media is a tribal cesspool that just cranks up the feedback loops. And should someone from the right have a go at someone on the left, it doesn't matter if what they said is true or accurate. If it goes against the tribe, you will get dogpiled by a legion of blue-balled morons. And predictable as the tides, that is exactly what happened, which naturally, of course, proves my point. My notifications went apeshit. I looked through some of the comments and I thought, holy hell, there are so many dumb bastards on Twitter. I don't think people actually understood what I meant, which is rather worrying because, again, apparently one needs a genius IQ. Now, the other reason for the highlight is this not only perfectly epitomizes the notion that the left knows nothing about the right, evidently showcases the further left one goes, the more one not only becomes disconnected from the realms of understanding politics in general, but seemingly also every other facet of objective reality. The only reason I can explain this guy's frankly novice level of political analysis is he is staunchly anti-constitution. I mean, he openly called it trash, so I figure in his empty-headed noggin, he must assume everyone on the right can be lumped together under the umbrella of the Constitution. A better question would be, how the hell can you call the Republicans a threat when you're the one bashing one out thinking about setting fire to the nation's founding document, but kind of a sticky situation. He mentions Trump, Graham, and McConnell. If you happen to not be a rat-brained dipshit, you will know Trump does not like McConnell or Graham because they are part of the Uniparty. They are establishmentarian politicians. They are swamp creatures. They would sooner side with the likes of Biden and Clinton than the populist Republicans. It's not about the Democrats and Republicans. That's just for the camera. That's too broad. The Republican Party has been taken over by Trump. He is the kingmaker. So instead of looking at it through the lens of, say, Democrat versus Republicans, think of it instead as old versus a new regime. The only reason why McConnell and Graham sided with Trump to begin with was because he was in office. But now that he's no longer in the DC apparatus, they don't want him back in the White House. This is why you have articles like this by the Federalists. Yes, Mitch McConnell would rather lose the Senate than his leadership status because he's a self-interested fuck. Or this one, Lindsey Graham is an idiot. Same goes for him. Has anyone else noticed the Republican establishment has not said jack shit about Trump being raided by Biden's DOJ? Radio silence. So when you look at this dumb crap of a national abortion restriction that Graham is pushing, any sane strategist would ask themselves, what in the fucking hell are you doing? Why in the hell are you taking a hammer to a cultural win you scored and try to beat it to death using the very apparatus you originally opposed? Especially now around the corner from the midterms against a highly demoralized opponent. It looks like Graham is either engaging in an act of self-sabotage or imbecilic stupidity. You don't have control of either the House or the Senate, so why in the hell do you openly push this now? It's fascinating to me how the two sides look at the same situation and how utterly stupid the left are with it. MAGA fans cheered the overturning of Roe v. Wade because it went back to the states. It's no longer an issue for the federal government. And then comes along this rhino retard who puts forth legislation to reintroduce the federal government into the decision-making process. And then these blue-head freaks scream, oh, this is what the Republicans want all along, and works them up into a frenzy. Meanwhile, MAGA fans are now pissed the fuck off because they don't approve of this decision either. There was bizarrely one person in the comments that had at least a flicker of a light who said something along the lines of, this seems kind of odd because the national restriction isn't exactly popular. And they'd be correct. It's not popular, even broadly speaking, on the right for the reasons I just mentioned. See, this kind of shit is what makes those on the right think the left are brain-dead morons, because they're desperately trying to seize power, and the only thing they have is projection and to scare the shit out of their own voters. Look at the left. Literally everything they do is driven by fear. Oh, our democracy is under assault. Oh, the planet is dying. Minorities are under assault because of white supremacy, systemic racism, blah, 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 blah. Is it any wonder why everyone on the left is a miserable git? There's nothing positive about these people at all. Oh, look, the world is full of inequalities and capitalism is oh so horrible. So let's give all the power to the government who makes the laws, because they will definitely be benevolent with total power and the world's biggest bureaucracy. This is what these idiots actually believe. And they go, oh, the right wants to take away our vote. Yeah, and your only solution for literally every single problem is to give more power to the state. Do forgive me if I deem you unfit to decide things for me, you ignorant, drooling knob. And that is all for today, and I will see you all next time.